Back, and we have our guest, Heather Robinson and Bebe Diamond. And we're just pretty much talking about hot topics, things that are taking place in this great country of ours. We know that Joe Biden just recently attended I think it's the G7 meeting of the top nations. Don't know what he's going to talk about, but whatever it is, of course, the media is going to say, oh, it was fantastic. Wasn't he great? Wasn't he the best thing? And what is Joe saying? He's well, pretty much repeating what Trump said. We're back. Back from where? Where did we go? I think you want to say that we're lost because now these countries will be able to step all over us, especially Russia. He just gave Russia permission to build a pipeline to Germany with oil. He shut down our Keystone pipeline. Can you imagine? He shut that down. The media said, oh, don't fear. It's okay. Gas prices went up, but there's nothing to see here. So Russia's going to make a killing off of Germany. Why is it that Germany couldn't get the oil from us? What's wrong with Angela Merkel? She hates Americans? I mean, people have got to stop, think, and start dissecting this stuff. Joe Biden has set us back so far behind all these other countries. We're now a doormat. We've been a doormat for China. They're laughing at us. They gave us a biological warfare coronavirus. Shut down Fauci and told Fauci, hey, don't you tell them that it didn't come out of the lab. You tell them that it came from some wet market. Lo and behold, like clockwork, that's what the media said. Only now they've got to come out and say, maybe Trump was right. Look at our sports. John Cena coming out, speaking some type of gibberish Chinese, saying that he wanted to apologize for recognizing Taiwan. And let's look at Taiwan. China wants to go in and usurp Taiwan, wants to take over Taiwan, actually. They say that's part of China. And what is Joe going to do? Well, he'll probably just roll over. Look, when Putin went in Crimea, Obama just rolled over. So Joe will do the same thing. The media will say, nothing to see here. But when Trump was in office, they wanted Trump to fight Putin. Oh, we want a war. Warmongers. It's only a matter of time before North Korea pops its little head out and start pushing Joe around. And then our Secretary of State, Blinken, who the heck is he? Weak players. Weak all the way around. The world is laughing at us. We are the laughing stock. I'm just waiting for Joe to fall on the stairs, have him do another triple fall like a triple axel in skating. That people, we're so proud to have him there. Have him where? The guy probably doesn't even know where he's going. But yet and still, he's President Biden. He's a man that's going to put us back on the map. I don't think so. He's a man that's going to put us deeper and deeper in debt. And we just go right along with it when we're supposed to, because we can't say anything about it. Because if we do, our voices are silenced. So CNN and MSNBC, although their ratings are in the tank, no one's watching them, they still manage to get out there with all their negativity and say, oh, well, guess what? Joe's doing good. And for some reason, they just can't keep Trump out of their mouths. Little by little, all the lies that they told he was in office are being dispelled. The truth is finally coming out. The truth about the walk with the Bible. Oh, Trump got rid of all of the protesters so that he could walk up to the church, St. John's Church, with the Bible. You even had Republicans saying it. General Miley, that knucklehead, he came out. Oh, I wasn't supposed to participate in that. Trump should have fired him right on the spot. All of the truth is coming out now, just like the truth of January 6th, just like the truth with Russia collusion. It's all coming out. We need to regain the Senate and the House in 2022. It's not going to be easy. Don't think it's a cakewalk, because it's not. The Democrats will cheat again. We need to retake back the presidency in 2024 by any means necessary. We need to go out and vote and vote and vote. We need to come back in a mighty strong way. And I've said this before, and this might be controversial, but I believe this with all my heart. If we're able to take back the Senate and the House with the right people, people that love the country and not rhinos, and then take back the presidency, we should put forth a mean, lean, true, heartfelt American team that's going to go after all of these criminals, from the media all the way to people in the House. March them out front and charge them all. No, we're not going after our political enemies. We're going against the enemy of the United States of America. What do my panel say? You don't have to agree with me, but I feel extremely strong about this because these people, that's the insurrection fighting against America. And the only way it will stop and never happen again is if these people are investigated and charged. PencilNet, California, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and so many others. Eric Swalwell, why is he still there? You know that he colluded with the Chinese Communist Party. We need an attorney general who will go after them ruthlessly. And they need to pay for the crimes against this great country. Insurrection, treasonous. Now, what do you say?
Well, I agree. I mean, I don't know about charging journalists with a crime against this country, although the media has been reckless, very harmful and detrimental. But you're absolutely right. I think the silver lining in all of this is that the American people are waking up to the craziness of the Democrats. There was a big win. I think it was McAllen, Texas, in a town that's 85% Hispanic. They voted for a Republican mayoral candidate who won, who's also Hispanic. So I think the tide is turning toward the Republicans. And I have to also say another ray of hope is Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, who will not agree with the bill put forth by the Democrats on the voting bill or something like that. So there are rays of hope out there. But these are people, the media, the Democrats, they're basically one and the same. They have twisted and perverted our Constitution, or they've ignored it, how this country was founded. They hate the fact that it was founded on Judeo-Christian values. And that's why they want illegal immigrants who have no knowledge of this country to come in, because they know that's a voting block for Democrats. One of the things that my mother and I want to do is educate. You know, the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge in Hosea. We need to educate, particularly in urban America, what this country is about, because Democrats prey on our ignorance. They want us to be ignorant so they can twist and pervert how this country was really founded. So I think you're right. In 2022 and 2024, Republicans are coming back strong. And one final note, I think the Democrats and the media are shocked that the Republicans had the gall to push for voting audits in Arizona. It's going on as we speak. So they are pissed that they can't just roll over Republicans like they can roll over Mitt Romney, George W. Bush. We are holding them accountable in Arizona. It will go to Georgia and other states. So I think that's the good news. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Bebe, you said that we're doing, say that again, because I want people to hear. We're holding them accountable. Say that again, please, Bebe.
We are holding them accountable. It's starting in Arizona. The audit is ongoing, and it's going to go to Georgia. It will most likely go to Pennsylvania. We had Senator Mastriano, state senator from Pennsylvania, visiting Arizona. Vernon Jones from Georgia visiting Arizona, looking at the audit of the vote that they are conducting in Arizona. So the media is shocked. Rachel Maddow is having a meltdown that Republicans have the gall, the guts to hold them accountable, because it will be proven that Joe Biden did not legitimately win this election. And that's what they're afraid of.
And we need that to happen. We need for them to be held accountable. But just taking a couple steps back before Andrew and Heather jump in, I hate to say it. Everything that you said, I agree with. But Joe Manchin, I see what he's doing. He and Kristen Sinema. But I mean, they could turn on a dime. And as I've said before, there are other Democrats that would agree with them, that they're allowing those two to take all the shots. I hope they can maintain their footing. But the media is throwing everything at them, calling them a racist, calling them traitors, calling them they don't like America, they don't like blacks. And just think about it. If they were to change their mind and say, okay, we agree with you, then all at once, oh, we love you again. This shows you how damaging and how evil these people are. And then one more thing. I know we should have a free press, but these guys are not the press. They're the enemies of the people. They have to be held accountable in a mighty big way. I think that they cheated and that they colluded. Time magazine even said it. I want them charged. So if I ever had gotten to office, I would charge them all. I would instruct my Justice Department to go in and arrest them all and march them out so that the American people could see it and know this will never happen again. Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, Rachel Maddow, all of those pundits, march them out and charge them. That's just me. That's how I love the country so much. And I think that these knuckleheads have just destroyed it with the lies that they have put out there.
Yeah, well said, Rob. And we're seeing another thing with the Fauci emails that's coming to light, that he wasn't 100% honest with the American people, perhaps. And then another thing we've seen recently is a study says that hydroxychloroquine was up to 200% more effective to people on ventilators. Breaking 911 posted that. So hydroxychloroquine looks like it's going to be proven to work. It looks like so many things that President Trump was telling us, that people said he was crazy, that he was passing around conspiracies. Turns out he was probably spot on a lot of things. And this hydroxychloroquine, I was always confident that it worked, because anytime a celebrity would get COVID-19, Tom Hanks, for example, the first thing his world-class doctor would do is put him on hydroxychloroquine. So it just only made sense to me that hydroxychloroquine was the real deal.
Yeah, I think that it did help people. I did some reporting early on, interviewing people who were desperately ill with COVID, and their families were desperate to get hydroxychloroquine to them. And yes, I interviewed one woman who obtained it for her husband after doing a lot of, legwork herself. And she felt it helped him. So yes, I think a lot of the things that, and this gets back, guys, to what we talk about, the dangers of censorship. In addition to being wrong in principle, censorship does not yield, it does not tend to be conducive to unearthing truth. I mean, so how many of these things, which were evolving in this situation, were blocked from social media? We were told, I mean, personally, I think with the masks situation, I think the truth was somewhere in between, but that's the thing. It's like, if you, what the big tech companies label as fact check lies, I mean, it's not even 6 months later, and some of those things turned out to be true. So it just illustrates the folly of trying to censor and block the free flow of information.
Well, they want to block the free flow of information because they don't want the truth out there. They definitely don't want the truth that Donald Trump had been saying all along. They don't want it. They have to demonize him, because that's the only way they think that they could keep their base going, a hatred of President Trump. And it's unfortunate, as Andrew said, you look at Dr. Fauci. I call him Fauci. I know his name is Fauci. There is no way this guy should still be employed. Let's just think about it. Why is he still there? Joe is not going to fire him. And he is so has an egomaniac personality that he's not going to resign. He being Dr. Fauci. He is not going to step down. They would literally have to pull him out, clawing to his desk, trying to stay there. You would think he'd say, let me just step down. And where's Dr. Bird? Where is she? Shortly after they stole the election, she and Dr. Fauci just came out saying all kinds of disparaging things about President Trump. Oh, well, how do you think I felt? Oh, he said this and he said that. Now you can't find her. She and her scarf. You can't find her. She's hiding. She wants Dr. Fauci to take all the heat, and rightfully so. But Dr. Fauci tried to destroy. Look at Scott Atlas, who came out and pushed and said, no, guys, you're looking at this the wrong way. And Fauci, oh, no, no, no. When time after time after time, out of the models that he kept putting up failed. Do you guys remember that, his modeling? And they kept saying, oh, 2 million people were going to be dead. And people were afraid to go out because they thought they might be in the number.
Well,
We passed. Go ahead.
Just that I hear you, Rob, but a lot of people did die. And, one thing that I would sort of insert a word for is just because the elements of the establishment, Fauci or Fauci, as you call him, and other people got certain things wrong, and even worse than getting him wrong, were very dogmatic about things that were in play and evolving, and no one knew the truth about. We don't want to make the opposite error and sort of rush to the other extreme. I was reading a piece the other day, an opinion piece, all about how Fauci got it wrong on masks, and his emails revealed that he actually knew that the virus was too tiny to be contained by masks. But if you actually read closely what he wrote, I would say that he didn't say that masks were completely useless. What I understood the point to be was that if someone is infected, that the mask could have some value in mitigating the spread of this thing in like indoor situations. But that, I guess my point is just that, yes, I think this whole idea that the mask is magic and will totally protect you, and anyone who doesn't wear one under all circumstances is a monster. I mean, that was liberal hysteria. It clearly was extreme. I don't think it logically follows from that error that the masks did absolutely nothing. We don't really know that. And there were these projections of 2 million, and we did have we have 500,000 dead in this country. So it's a lot of people. It was a serious crisis. But, on the other hand, it's like, we don't know how many more might have died if not for some of these mitigations.
You make a good point. I'm not so generous with Dr. Fauci as you are, because I think that he could have done a lot more. I also feel that when you look at the rhetoric, or not the rhetoric, but the narrative that was out there, that people who had underlying conditions should be extra careful. I get it. I understand that, and they should have been.
That was true. Yes.
Right. Okay, but then look at those individuals who weren't and who didn't. Yeah. I think that they saw this as an opportunity, not that Dr. Fauci was in on it, but the Democrats saw this as an opportunity. As they say, don't let any crises go undone or whatever. They saw it as an opportunity to push in their agenda. And it was the perfect storm for them. Look at the crime. Yeah. I mean, when we entered 2020, a lot of mayors had decided that they were going to do away with bail and that they were going to let these criminals out. And now they're blaming all of this on COVID-19. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with COVID-19. I wouldn't even say one iota. These criminals saw the opportunity to say, hey, they're not going to arrest us. And if they do, I can get out. And that's what they're doing. Because have any of these mayors come back and rescinded those decisions and said, hey, this wasn't a good idea. Now that things are opening up, we might need to just pull back a little bit. Nope. It's just, no, let them do what they want to do. You look at the crimes in New York City. I live in New York City. I think Bebe Diamond is in New York City. Up and down the streets, crime on a daily basis. And they're not taking responsibility. They're blaming it on the virus. Oh, people are getting out and You know, when they get out, they've been cooped up in a long time, and now they're just acting out. Are you serious? And who are the people that you're referring to? Who are the people that are all cooped up that you're saying that they're now acting out? Look at the crime in New York City. Proportionately, just look at it. Who's committing the crime? I dare say, Black people. Okay, yes, there are some white people committing crimes, but when we watch the TV at night and we see the hate crimes that are being perpetrated, it's Black people. The media wants it to be a white person, but unfortunately, it's not.
Well,
So
it's
are you
both,
telling me?
yeah.
Are you telling me? Am I supposed to believe that simply because Black people have been cooped up, now that they're outside, they're going to commit all this crime? Look at Chicago. Well, we know that's just nonstop. California, the crimes against Asians. We got a big problem here, folks, and we need to address it. The fat elephant in the room. Democrat failed policies. Minnesota, Wisconsin, California, New York, Democrat failed policies. And where you see this uptick in crime, all Democrats are there. Why haven't they changed their policies?
No, you're absolutely right, Rob. And it's a shame that you see in New York City, it's Black people attacking Asians, primarily Black people attacking innocent Jews in Brooklyn. I mean, this is the plain truth. And we know Chicago and other urban areas, Black people are killing each other almost on a daily basis, and not a peep from the news media. I mean, these people are not journalists. They really aren't journalists. They're activists. You know what I mean? I mean, if we had a National Association of Journalism, their licenses should be suspended because they are not journalists. They're not reporting what is happening.
Like you said, they're activists, and that is the reason why I want to round them all up and charge them and put them in jail, because I don't think that they are journalists. They're not doing any good. They're not keeping us apprised or abreast on the issues. They're activists. They're fighting for their cause for the Democrat Party, and it should not be that way. I take no pleasure in saying that a majority of the perps that have been out there have been Black people. Yes, there are white people that are committing crimes, but when they started with the premises that there's violence against Asians, simply because a man went on a rampage at a salon, and started shooting people, and it happens to be an Asian establishment, that white people are attacking Asians. And then right after that, all of the attacks were committed by Black people. I take no pleasure in saying that. But we have to identify the problem in order to correct it. And it's really unfortunate that a lot of the Black politicians don't want to admit it. They're too busy trying to push critical race theory because they want white people to feel bad. And you have a lot of white liberals that are out there that are clueless, and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to feel bad because this is going to make them feel better. Okay, if you want to change things, and I say this to the white liberals and their critical race theory, since you've been made to believe that you are so bad and you want to correct the wrongs, why don't you give all that you have to Black people? Just switch spots with them. Just say, hey, you can get all my money. Jeff Bezos and all these other people out there. They won't do it because what they're doing is just lip service. They want you to think that they're concerned. That's just like telling rich people, we need to raise your taxes. And then you have the Warren Buffett saying, oh yeah, raise my taxes because I pay more than my secretary. Bill Clinton raised my taxes. You know why they say that? Because they know that it will never happen. That if we were to try to raise their taxes, they would get all their lobbyists out there to push back. So for now, they're saying, oh, raise my taxes because I pay more. And it's the same way they're saying, white people are bad. Yes, we're bad. Now, the adults will say it, and they're okay with that. But their children and their grandchildren, this is child abuse. Look at the root cause of the problem. Like I said, I hate admitting that a lot of these crimes are being committed by Black people. But we have to speak truth to power.
Yeah. How many decades has black crime been so high in Democrat areas? How long have black babies been getting murdered by the millions? Black lives only matter when they're killed by a police officer to the left and to the media, which is really sad. They want to act like they care about black lives, but they haven't been reporting on the crime in the inner cities and the abortion problem in the black community for decades.
And they won't, because they're hoping that people aren't paying attention. And those who are paying attention, their voices are silenced. There are so many blacks that are out there that we've had on our show. The guy Ruben Young, who said that he switched parties. He had a Democrat, and he voted for Trump in 2016 and 2020 because he started realizing how the Democrats were using black people. And that is so, you hear that from so many people that are saying that they're waking up. But then you have those like the Val Demings, who's planning on running for the Senate against Marco Rubio. And if she doesn't get it, of course, she'll say, well, they didn't vote for me because they're racist or they're feminist. They don't like me because I'm a woman. Look at what's her name. What is a woman's name in Georgia? Stacey Abrams. She is yet to concede that election. She's yet to do it. And they brag about her. Well, she would be president. She would be governor if there wasn't racism. Give me a break. They rejected her because they didn't like her. She was only good for one thing, and that was helping them steal the election. But everything else they did not like. We have to just face it. I know it is a harsh reality. But when you step back and you think about it, and you say, yes, the stain of slavery is on America, but it happened so many years ago. The Jews were enslaved. The Romans were enslaved. There were so many, the Greeks were enslaved. There were so many people that were enslaved. Why is it that we just can't move beyond black people being enslaved? And if we're going to constantly give reparations, we're going to be giving reparations to everybody. I mean, in my humble opinion, there should be no reparations for Indians. What happened, happened. We have to move on. But, because when you look at the country as a whole, in any country, countries took over other countries and people suffered. That was just it. I'm not saying that it was right. Go ahead, Heather. I'm sorry.
Well, just one thought is that I've sometimes had is maybe if there had been reparations to Black Americans, maybe if there had been more of a true attempt, not that there could ever be any true making up for such horror, any more than the Nazis or the German government was able to make up for the Holocaust. But there was an acknowledgement. There was some, however inadequate, but there was an attempt. There was an acknowledgement of guilt. There was some modest effort made to make gestures of recompense and try to do a little something for the, there was kind of a acknowledgement of the terrible wrong, and nothing could ever, of course, erase it, or nor should it, but there wasn't a denial of guilt. And sometimes I'm just putting it out there that I sometimes think some of what we see in our society now is kind of maybe a not so healthy set of psychological reactions on the part of all Americans, in different ways to the sins of the past that have not been properly dealt with and acknowledged, and people whose dignity was not respected enough. And maybe now, there's this kind of wound that has never healed, and maybe that's part of what the Democrats play on. And it's actually not healthy, and can be very, very harmful. And I, it's just sort of a psychological theory, I guess, that I have, that some of what goes on, whether it's critical race theory or what have you, is kind of an attempt to expiate guilt that wasn't really, there was no formal not enough formal acknowledgement of, maybe, and a kind of a collective decision to move forward from. So right. No, I'm not really against the idea of reparations, because I think if it could actually help us move forward and not be always having to, feel guilt and anger and all these things, and make, be caught in this psychological maelstrom that I think is very much a part of American culture. I think, American liberalism, white liberals have kind of decided to sort of pay reparations in the form of this eternal kind of guilt.
Right.
That's
So
not
that's a good,
healthy.
right. That's a valid point, but just a couple of things. Okay,
Yeah.
one, critical race theory would not be the way to go. And I know we're up on the hour, but I just want to get this
Yeah, I
through.
agree.
That wouldn't be the way to go. Okay, and we say that to acknowledge the sins of the past. Okay, well, we have made an attempt to do it with affirmative action. Then there have been other programs that have been put forth that's out there to help. But then the other thing is that it happened so many years ago. When we look at, and I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends, black and white friends, when we look at this and say, we're going to give reparations to this group of people, we might as well give reparations to everyone. Because families are so intertwined and so mixed now. And when you start giving out money, everyone's going to say, hey, I want some also. So if we're going to give reparations, let's just do it for everyone, because everyone is going to say, but look at what the country did to me. Look at the Irish, look at the Italians, look at the largest lynching that ever took place was in Louisiana to happen with Italians. So we'll just keep going and going and going and going. So let's say if we were to do it, give everyone money, it still won't satisfy the mob, because you're never happy, you're never satisfied. You always want more. But definitely, without a doubt, critical race theory is only creating more problems. We're creating another group of people that will come back later on and say, hey, I was done wrong. Now, the other point that I want to make that is extremely important is that by virtue of being in America and having the opportunity, yes, there will be some to stop you. But when you look out there and you look at what blacks have gone through and the blacks that have made it against all the odds, and they're able to stand up as a testimony and say, this is what I've done. There are a lot of blacks that are out there that are offended to think that the government feels that we've got to give to you. And again, we have the white man giving to the black man because the black man can't do it himself. But you look at those black individuals that have managed to do it against all the odds, not in this century, but way back when, after slavery. You look at those black writers and authors and millionaires rather, that were able to make it. Now, some will say, well, they did it. What about the others? Well, you look at the black athletes. Some will say, well, but they're athletes, but that's a talent that they have. You look at the Oprah Winfreys. There are so many people that are out there that have done it. But if we keep preaching victimization, people will assume and think, I can't do it. I need a handout. Yeah, we need someone to help us, pull myself up with the bootstrap if I don't have the boots. But if the opportunity is given to you, look at all those individuals that come to America with absolutely nothing. You look at Africans that come to America. When I first came to New York, I was staying with a guy from Africa. And within 2 years' time, this guy learned the language and had a store. He was black. He was African, a true African. So if they can do it, why can't others? They can't do it because they're told that they have been oppressed and they can't do it. And I close out my statements on that.
Well said, Rob. Democrats obviously want to keep the black community as victims because it's a lot more popular than telling them to pull up their bootstraps and stop being victims for something that happened over 150 years ago. And thank you for joining us tonight on After Dark with Rob and Andrew. Check us out and all of the other shows over at AmericaOutloud.com, who just celebrated its 5th anniversary. You can also find America Out Loud on iHeartRadio, Spotify, or Stitcher. We will see you guys next time. And remember to stand for something,